Right now, someone in your life is running a quiet test on you, not like a dramatic confrontation, not some kind of obvious power move, but a soft joke, a small ask, maybe a casual comment designed to measure exactly how much they can reduce your status before you push back. And here's the dangerous part. You actually think the conversation is normal. In your mind, you're just talking. But you're not. You're actually being evaluated. Most people don't even realize they were being tested until it's too late, after the damage has already been done, after the pattern is locked in, after they've already shown their hand. Today, we are going to change this. I'm going to give you 5 questions. Each one is designed to do one thing and one thing only. And this is to make the person across from you reveal exactly who they are before they can construct a mask. These aren't conversation starters. They're diagnostic tools. And once you use them, you'll never need to guess again. You don't need to ask all 5 at once. You don't need to be obvious. You just need to listen, not to what they say, but to what they can't hide. Let's start with the one that exposes how they handle conflict before any conflict exists. Ask this. If we had a major conflict today, how would you expect us to resolve it? Simple question. Sounds reasonable, almost mature. But watch what happens. A person with nothing to hide will answer this directly. They'll say something like, I'd want us to talk it through, or I'd need some space first, then a conversation. Specific, grounded, accountable. A person who operates through control will do one of 3 things. They'll deflect. I don't really think about that kind of thing. Translation. I haven't needed a strategy because people usually just give in. They'll flip it back on you. Why are you expecting a conflict? They've just made you the problem for asking a reasonable question, or they'll give you a performance. A long, articulate answer about communication and mutual respect that sounds exactly right. But watch their face while they say it. Watch whether the words match anything in their eyes. This question works because conflict resolution requires genuine self-awareness. You can't fake a real answer without revealing your actual default, which is either accountability or control. The person who gets uncomfortable with this question has already told you something important. They don't have a resolution strategy, they have a dominant strategy. If that question made you think of someone specific, someone whose answer you already know would be off, stay with that feeling. Because the next question goes deeper. It doesn't just reveal how they handle conflict, it reveals how they actually see the people they claim to respect. Ask this. Who is the person you admire most? And what is one thing they do that actually annoys you? The first part is easy. Everyone has an answer for who they admire. The second part is where it gets interesting. You're asking them to hold 2 things at once, admiration and honest criticism, about someone they've chosen to put on a pedestal. A psychologically healthy person can do this without flinching. They'll think for a second, maybe laugh a little, and give you something real. My dad. But he never admits when he's wrong. Genuine, human, balanced. A person who operates through idealization and devaluation, which is the core engine of most manipulative relationships, cannot do this cleanly. Watch for the pivot. They'll either protect the person completely, I can't think of anything honestly, which tells you they don't allow complexity in the people they've elevated, or they'll use the question as an opening to criticize, and the criticism will be disproportionate. What started as a small annoyance becomes a full character indictment. Both responses tell you the same thing. This person sorts people into categories, useful or not useful, worthy or not worthy. And right now they're deciding which category you belong in. I'm not asking for your explanation. I'm observing your reaction. Ask this. I'm curious, when you've helped people in the past, how do you feel when they don't say thank you? Pay attention to the speed of the answer. Someone who helps without agenda will pause. They might say it's a little disappointing, but they'll qualify it. I try not to help with expectations attached. There's self-awareness there. There's honesty about the feeling without making it a moral verdict on the other person. Now watch the person who helps as a strategy. They won't pause. The answer comes fast, and it comes loaded. It's disrespectful. It tells you everything about someone's character. I've stopped helping people like that. What they've just told you is that their help was never free. Every favor was an investment. Every act of generosity was a deposit into an account they fully intended to withdraw from. And if you've ever been on the receiving end of that kind of help, if you've ever felt that slow, creeping sense of debt you never agreed to, this is the mechanism behind it. Kindness that requires a debt isn't kindness, it's a transaction. The person who gets quietly intense answering this question is the person whose help you should be most careful accepting. 3 questions in, and you're already seeing the pattern. It's not about what they say, it's about what they can't stop themselves from revealing. The next question is the one that exposes their entire relationship with fairness, and whether they use it as a principle or a weapon. Ask this: what is the most unfair thing that's ever happened to you? Everyone has an answer. That's not the point. The point is what the answer looks like. A grounded person will tell you something real, something that hurt, and somewhere in the telling, they'll acknowledge complexity. Maybe they played a role. Maybe it was just bad luck. Maybe they've made peace with it. The story has an arc. It ends somewhere. A person who operates through victimhood as a tactic will give you a story with no arc. The injustice is still live, still raw, still someone else's fault entirely. And watch how they tell it. Because this is where the behavioral cue matters most. Their energy will shift. The calm, social version of them will recede slightly. What replaces it is something older. Something that doesn't quite fit the conversation you thought you were having. That's not grief. That's a grievance they've been maintaining. There's a difference. Genuine pain processes over time. Manufactured victimhood stays sharp because it's being used to justify behavior, to extract sympathy, to position themselves as someone who is owed. If the most unfair thing that ever happened to them is still the centerpiece of how they explain themselves, that story isn't behind them. It's their operating system. Ask this: if I told you right now that I needed to set a strict boundary on our time, what would be your first thought? This is the most direct question on the list, and it will produce the most immediate reaction. You're not actually setting a boundary. You're describing one, hypothetically, and watching what happens in their face before their words catch up. A secure person will respond with something like curiosity or straightforward acceptance. I'd want to understand what you need. Or simply, that's fine. No charge in it, no performance. A person who views your availability as something they're entitled to will show you in the first 2 seconds. A flicker of something: irritation, confusion, a slight recalibration behind the eyes. Then the words will come, and the words will usually sound reasonable. Of course, I'd respect that. I think boundaries are important. But the 2-second gap already told you the truth, because here's what that reaction reveals. They don't experience your limits as your right. They experience them as a withdrawal of something they were counting on. And the fact that you're annoyed by this boundary tells me exactly why I needed to set it. You don't need to say that out loud. You just need to see it. You now have 5 questions that work in real time, in real conversations, without anyone knowing they're being assessed. But knowing the questions is only half of it. The other half is understanding what to do with what you see. Here's what changes when you start using these. You stop being reactive. Most people spend their energy trying to figure out what went wrong after the damage is done, after the manipulation is already embedded, after the pattern has been running for months. These questions move the detection point to the beginning, before the investment, before the dependency, before the dynamic is set, and that changes your position entirely. You're no longer someone who gets tested without knowing it. You become the person who is always one step ahead of the test. Now, what do you do when someone fails one of these? You don't confront them. You don't announce what you saw. You file it. You adjust your behavior quietly. You reduce what you share. You stop explaining yourself. You stop over-investing. You don't give them the reaction they're calibrated to receive from you. Because here's the thing about people who operate through testing and probing. They need your engagement to function. They need your guilt, your over-explanation, your need to be liked. The moment you become unreadable, you become unmanageable. And an unmanageable target is a target they'll move away from. Not because you fought back, not because you confronted them, because you stopped being worth the effort. That is the position you want to be in. Not angry, not defensive, not even visibly aware, just already 3 moves ahead. These 5 questions don't require a psychology degree. They don't require confrontation. They require attention and the willingness to believe what you see instead of what you're told. Pattern recognition is the only protection that works before the damage starts. And if you want to understand why certain people targeted you in the first place, not randomly, not by accident, but through a specific selection logic that most people never see, that's exactly what the next video covers. Because once you understand why they chose you, you can change what they see. And that's when the dynamic shifts permanently. Watch that next.